Sometimes the name is exactly what is in the can, or in case of this ship, the can itself. The cruiser class represented one of the earliest generations of Terran Hegemony cruisers and participated in Director-General James McKenna's persuasion campaigns. The origin of the class extended further back, with the initial concept dating to the 22nd century as a combat vessel designed around nuclear warfare in space. By the 24th century, practical experience revealed the limitations of this approach. Nonetheless, during this early experimental period, as the Hegemony Navy established its doctrines and organizational framework, the cruiser saw production and deployment. Crew legends suggested that the class had been named by a committee. Whether the case, McKenna deemed the Alliance era design adequate for his purpose of reintegrating independent worlds into the Terran fold. Manufactured during the same early era as the Black Lion-class battlecruiser and the Dreadnought-class battleship, the cruiser was introduced in 2325 and remained in service until 2405. It played a central role in McKenna's campaigns. In practice, the first sign of hegemony intent to conquer the world was often the arrival of a pair of cruisers positioned at each primary jump point. These were usually accompanied by jump ships carrying aerospace fighters. McKenna frequently commanded such operations directly, leading from his flagship. Acting on intelligence gathered months in advance, the hegemony forces secured each jump point before allowing a second wave of jump ships to bring in ground forces. The cruiser class had a relatively short career due to inherent design limitations. Many of its deficiencies originated from its conceptual foundation, which was based on assumptions made by designers with little practical experience in space combat. The initial arrangement of a vessel reflected this inexperience. All cargo bays and all bays for drop shuttles and small craft were mounted in the bow, with the purpose of acting as sacrificial sections under the assumption that the ship would always face its enemy nose first. As a result, the vessel's center of mass shifted dramatically, depending on whether the bays were full or empty. This instability often caused the pivot point of a ship to shift unpredictably. Armament was another limitation. The original design intended for the capital missiles to carry nuclear warheads. McKenna restricted their use to conventional warheads, which reduced offensive capabilities significantly. While its weapons remained adequate for engagements against contemporary warships and armed merchantmen, the design's flaws, combined with its unappealing physical appearance, left the class unpopular. The ship's squat, cylindrical form, with flat bow and stern sections, was frequently compared to kegs or cans, leading to the disparaging nickname Beer Can Battleship. The cruiser carried a mixture of naval autocannons and capital missile launchers. Each arc mounted 6 NAC-10s with 60 rounds of ammunition. The broadsides carried 2 bays of 3 Barracuda launchers each, as did the nose and aft arcs. The 4 left and right arcs mounted 2 bays of 3 White Shark launchers each. Every missile bay carried 30 reloads. At 500,000 tons, the cruiser was relatively small compared to other vessels classified as cruisers. By comparison, the contemporary Dart-class light cruiser and the Lola-class destroyer each displaced around 680,000 tons. Despite its small size, the cruiser possessed considerable firepower. Its NAC batteries were broadly comparable to the Dart. While the Dart carried heavier armor, the cruiser's capital missiles offered a higher likelihood of inflicting critical damage. These missiles also significantly outranged the Dreadnought-class battleship's light autocannon-based anti-aerospace armament. The initial bays of the cruiser were distributed as follows. Bay 1 housed 6 small craft and had 2 access doors. Bay 2 functioned as a drop shuttle bay with a 10,000-ton capacity and 2 doors. Bay 3 provided 94,536 tons of cargo capacity, also with 2 doors. Although the Terran Hegemony abandoned their class during the early 25th century, a number were sold to the great houses. The Draconis Combine retained at least 2 cruisers in service as late as 2765. In operational terms, the cruiser was best employed as a long-range gunboat. Its heavy missile batteries gave it advantages in long-range exchanges. In direct comparison, it's comparable to the later Avalon class, making it a useful escort platform despite its light armor. The cruiser's missiles, however, were restricted in their capacity, which in itself reduced its ability to conduct prolonged long-range barrages. Its reliance on a single drop shuttle also limited its capacity to deploy supporting forces. In anti-fighter defense, the cruiser's armor protection restricted survivability, but its weapons output was significant enough to inflict substantial losses. Against aerospace formations, its effectiveness was such that commanders were advised to attempt rapid, overwhelming strikes, as prolonged exposure to its missile batteries resulted in unsustainable attrition. In terms of resilience, the cruiser was more durable than the Lola-class destroyer, but less so than later Starlink-era heavy cruisers. Its combination of limited armor, shifting mass distribution, and outdated design concepts ultimately led to its early retirement, though its impact on the early expansion campaigns of the Terran Hegemony remained considerable.